Namaste, Hare Krishna. Sarva Upanishado Gavaha Dokta Gopala Nandanaha Partho Vatsa Sudhir Bhokta Duktam Gita Mritam Magat. This Gita Upanishad, which is Bhagavad Gita, is the essence of all the Upanishads. Is just like a cow, and Lord Krishna, who is famous as a cowherd boy, is milking this cow. Arjuna is just like a calf, and learned scholars and pure devotees are to drink the nectarian milk of Bhagavad Gita. In this session, we will do a complete overview of entire 18 chapters. The first chapter is entitled as Arjun Viṣhād Yog. Generally, a person having qualities such as love and compassion towards others are considered to be good qualities. But these feelings should not arise at the wrong time or on an inappropriate occasion. In the case of Arjuna, he developed affection and compassion towards the enemies on the battlefield, that too after blowing the conch. He became confused. He thought fighting in the war was unrighteous, adharma, but actually it was a supreme duty as a Kshatriya. He showed compassion to the wrong person. He showed affection to the wrong person. He considered dharma to be adharma. To resolve his confusions, he took refuge in Krishna and became his disciple. And Krishna most graciously instructed Arjuna of all the very essence that we can find in the Upanishad, not only for Arjuna, for the uplift of the entire humanity in the form of Bhagavad Gita. The first chapter, where Arjuna got confused, continues into the second chapter until 10th sloka. And starting from the 11th sloka onwards, Krishna starts his instructions. The second chapter is titled as Sānkhya Yoga. Sānkhya means knowledge, and Yoga refers to Karma Yoga. Krishna understood that Arjuna doesn't have the idea of Atma and body. Therefore, he is concerned about killing the opponents. If he kill them, they are done for good. Therefore, Krishna, up to verse 39 in the second chapter, gave the knowledge of the Atma, Jñāna, and thereafter wisdom from the standpoint of Karma Yoga is taught. When Karma Yoga is performed, equipped with proper knowledge of the self, the outcome of performing Karma Yoga is Jñāna Yoga, known as Sthita Prajñatva, that is, the steady state of being established in the knowledge of the self, Atma. By performing Karma Yoga with a proper understanding of the self, one's consciousness gets purified, Chitta Shuddhi happens, and that becomes an eligibility for one to perform Jnana Yoga. And that Jnana Yoga results in Atma Sakshatkara, that is, the vision of the self. This is what covered in the second chapter, Sānkhya Yoga. But the details of Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga are not given in the second chapter. All it covered is Atma Jnana and just a mention of some basic about the means to attain the Atma Jnana, that is through Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga. Starting from the third chapter through sixth chapter, the means are elaborated, that is Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga are elaborated, by which one can attain the Atma Sakshatkara, vision of the self. The third chapter is entitled as Karma Yoga. At the end of second chapter, Arjuna was confused because Krishna ended the second chapter with Jnana Yoga. Therefore, Arjuna's question was, why don't I directly take Jnana Yoga. Why I have to go through Karma Yoga? And Krishna's response is, Arjuna, you can even skip Jnana Yoga, but not to skip Karma Yoga. So no need of Jnana? Well, the Karma Yoga that you are going to do, that you will perform, will have Jnana within it. Therefore, you will attain the same result of performing Jnana Yoga by just doing Karma Yoga. But if you skip Karma Yoga, you are not going to be able to do Jnana Yoga, and therefore you won't be able to attain the result of Atma Sakshatkara. Not only that, in order to protect the world, you have to follow Karma Yoga. Suppose a person is well placed to practice Jnana Yoga and his progress is not impeded by not practicing Karma Yoga. That means he gives up Karma Yoga. Others who follow in his footsteps may also not practice Karma Yoga, though they are not properly equipped to practice Jnana Yoga. Just because one person was able to do Jnana Yoga by not doing Karma Yoga, that may make others to also do the same even though they are not qualified to do so. Therefore, it is going to be bad for them as well as bad for you who is misleading them in a wrong direction. For the benefit of humanity, you must do Karma Yoga and thereby induce them also to practice Karma Yoga. But how did you, Krishna, say that Karma Yoga has Jnana in it? Well, you wouldn't have taken Karma Yoga without the knowledge of Atma. One must have the Atma Jnana to take up Karma Yoga. And that is the Jnana which is within Karma Yoga, which will get you the result. Also, placing the responsibility of doing all the actions on the Lord. That is, viewing the performance of all our actions as dependent on Him. Chapter 4, Jñāna Karma Sanyās Yoga. In this chapter, Krishna speaks about his avatara rahasya, the secret of his incarnation. His descending into this world is real and is not a magical illusion. Even if he descends into this world, he remains as he is with all the qualities. He is omniscient. His body is not made of the 5 material gross elements. It is aprakrita, means it is transcendental. He is born out of his own will and not because of karma, like us. The timing of his birth is not due to the dictations of karma, but is whenever dharma declines and unrighteousness, adharma, is ascending. He appears only for the protection of the pious people and for the destruction of the wicked ones and for the re-establishment of dharma. His forms, attributes, his pastimes are all excellent. After the detour of Avatara Rahasya, Krishna gets back online with where it was left in the previous chapter. Krishna mentioned in the previous chapter that just by doing Karma Yoga, you will attain the same result as that of Jnana Yoga. Over here, Krishna elaborates on that part. That is, Karma Yoga has Karma Bhaga and Jnana Bhaga. Karma part and Jnana part. The latter, which is Jnana Bhaga, is better than the Karma Bhaga. Not to say not to do the karma, but when one performs the karma, the Jnana should be present. Therefore, Arjuna, using the sword of knowledge of the self, Atma, that I taught you, chop off the doubt in your mind concerning about the self and practice Karma Yoga. And also in this chapter, Krishna explains the sub-parts of Karma Yoga. Chapter 5, entitled as Karm Sanyās Yog. In this chapter, Arjuna was having a question. Krishna, in the second chapter, you stated that the seeker of liberation should practice only Karma Yoga, having able to eradicate his sins and cleansing of his mind. Then he can take up Jnana Yoga and then attain direct vision of the self. This is what you told in the second chapter. Then in the third and fourth chapter, you again went back to Karma Yoga, saying Karma Yoga is the best, even for one who is qualified to perform Jnana Yoga. Therefore, one doesn't need to involve in Jnana Yoga. By performing Karma Yoga, one can directly attain or perceive the self. My question is, if both Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga lead to the same goal of vision of the self, which one is easy to practice? Which one gives the result faster? Which one is superior? This is how the fifth chapter starts. And Krishna explains how Karma Yoga leads to the direct vision of the self more quickly than Jnana Yoga does. How Karma Yoga is easier than Jnana Yoga. And also Krishna describes the way of meditation on the self as non-agent, non-doer, which is included in Karma Yoga. Then he ends the chapter saying, Arjuna, he who performs Karma Yoga, knowing me as the enjoyer of all austerities, as the Supreme Lord of all the world, as the well-wisher of all beings, enjoys happiness even while performing Karma Yoga. In this way, a person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, the Supreme Lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attains peace from the pangs of material miseries and attain imperishable bliss. Then the sixth chapter, which is entitled as Dhyāna Yoga, teaches how to practice yoga consisting of the vision of the self through Jnana Yoga and Karma Yoga. Arjuna wanted to know, earlier in the fifth chapter, Krishna elaborated about the result of Karma Yoga, which is same as Jnana Yoga. And Karma Yoga having knowledge as its anga, limb of nature of the self. In this chapter, the requirements for the performance of yoga, the four kinds of equality that one attains by such yoga, the benefits that are bestowed by performing yoga, and finally the superior to this yoga is also mentioned, that is Bhakti Yoga. At the end of this chapter, Arjuna wanted to know if this is all that he needs to know, that is to attain the vision of the self, which is the main aim of yoga, or is there anything else even higher than this yoga? For that, Krishna concludes this chapter with the final sloka saying that he who has overflowing love for me, who is unable to sustain himself without me, whose mind is always fixed on me, who is unable to put up with his separation from me, even if it were only for a moment, who is ever eager to attain me, who practices the yoga as my worship, such a devotee pursues far higher means than others who are engaged in austerity. He is the most intimately united with me in yoga, and that yoga is the highest of all, which is Bhakti Yoga. So, to summarize, in first chapter, Arjuna was confused of not knowing what to do because he was thinking he's going to kill his friends and relatives. Therefore, in the second chapter, Krishna gave him the knowledge of Atma, and he hinted that the vision of Atma can be attained by Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga progressively. And then in the third chapter, Krishna clarified that by doing Karma Yoga, he will attain the same result of Jnana Yoga. Therefore, he doesn't need to perform Jnana Yoga. And in the 4th chapter, after speaking about his Avatara Rahasya, Krishna said, Karma Yoga has Jnana in it. Therefore, that Jnana will be able to do the same of what Jnana Yoga does. In that way, he can attain the same result of Jnana Yoga by just performing Karma Yoga. That result is nothing but Atma Sakshatkara, the vision of the self. And in the 5th chapter, Krishna said how Karma Yoga leads to direct vision of the self quickly than Jnana Yoga. And also it is easy to practice than Jnana Yoga. Then in the 6th chapter, Krishna said how to practice yoga to attain the vision of the self. And the last sloka of 6th chapter gives an introduction to the upcoming next part of Bhagavad Gita, which is Bhakti Yoga. Namaste. Hare Krishna.